The sun rose over Earth, casting a warm glow on a new day. But this day was different. Deep in space, a massive alien fleet was approaching. The ships were sleek and powerful, designed for destruction. Their target, Earth. Most humans went about their lives, unaware of the impending doom. Children played in the parks, families ate breakfast, and workers rushed to their jobs. Everything seemed normal, but beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. Suddenly, alarms blared across major cities. The sound echoed through streets, waking people from their daily routines. On the news, a shaky reporter appeared, his face pale. "We are under attack! An alien fleet is invading!" Panic spread like wildfire. People rushed to their homes, seeking safety. But there was nowhere to hide. In the sky, the alien ships unleashed a rain of fiery destruction. Bright beams of light shot down, hitting buildings and sending debris flying. In moments, skyscrapers crumbled and flames engulfed entire neighborhoods. People screamed, running for cover, but many were caught in the chaos. Mothers held their children tight, fathers shouted for their families, but the chaos drowned out their voices. Major cities fell quickly. In New York, people crowded the streets, looking up in horror. A massive alien ship hovered above, blocking out the sun. The ship's weapons glowed ominously before firing, and in seconds, a block of buildings exploded. Panic turned into chaos as people scrambled to escape the inferno. A young girl clutched her doll, tears streaming down her face. She lost her mother in the crowd, her small voice calling out, but there was no answer. As the invasion continued, brave soldiers and police officers took to the streets. They organized rescue efforts and fought back against the alien forces, but their weapons were useless against the advanced technology of the aliens. Bullets bounced off the ships, and soldiers fell to the ground, their bravery overshadowed by the overwhelming might of their enemy. In a military base outside the city, a commander gathered his troops. "We must fight! We cannot let them take our home!" he shouted, rallying his soldiers. They loaded their weapons and prepared for battle, but they knew they were outmatched. With a heavy heart, the commander watched as his soldiers left, knowing many would not return. As the day went on, the situation worsened. The alien ships moved from city to city, destroying everything in their path. Families were torn apart, buildings reduced to rubble, and the once vibrant Earth turned into a battlefield. News reports filled with images of destruction played on every screen, showing the world the horrors unfolding. People around the globe watched in disbelief, praying for their loved ones and hoping for a miracle. Then came the moment that shattered humanity's last hope. The aliens, having easily overpowered Earth's defenses, began broadcasting a message. It echoed across the globe, chilling every heart. "We are the Xyrath. You are a failed species. Surrender now, or face total annihilation." The alien leader's voice was cold, filled with disdain. Fear swept over the planet, and many realized there would be no escape. As darkness fell, the aliens continued their merciless assault. The skies lit up with explosions, and the cries of the innocent filled the air. The commander, now alone in the ruins of his base, felt the weight of despair. He had failed to protect his people. Tears filled his eyes as he thought of his family. They were lost, like so many others. Hours turned into a long night of horror. The once beautiful planet now lay in ruins, a graveyard for dreams. As the first light of dawn broke, the invasion was complete. The aliens had succeeded in wiping out every human on Earth. Silence replaced the screams, and the cities that had once thrived were now mere shadows of their former selves. In the distant colonies, the news reached the remaining humans. They watched in disbelief, their hearts heavy with grief and rage. Earth was gone, but they would not forget. United by their pain, they vowed to take action. They would avenge their fallen brothers and sisters. The seeds of revenge were planted, and the flames of war would soon rise. The fight for humanity was far from over. The news of Earth's destruction spread like wildfire across the galaxy. In the colonies, humans were devastated. They mourned their losses but also felt a burning anger. The alien empire had wiped out their home and families, and now they had to decide what to do next. In a small colony on the planet Nova Prime, leaders from different human colonies gathered. The grand hall was filled with tension as they took their seats. Each leader represented their people, and each brought unique strengths. There was Captain Sarah, a tough and experienced military leader, Dr. Elias, a brilliant scientist, and Ambassador Maya, a skilled diplomat who had once negotiated peace treaties between different colonies. Together, they faced the challenge of uniting their forces against the Xyrath. Captain Sarah stood up first, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "We cannot let the Xyrath get away with this. We must unite our forces and fight back." Her words ignited a spark in the room. The leaders nodded in agreement, their determination growing. Dr. Elias spoke next, adjusting his glasses nervously. "But we need a plan. We cannot charge into battle without knowing what we are up against. The Xyrath have advanced technology and powerful weapons. We need to gather information and find their weaknesses." Ambassador Maya added, "We also need to rally all human colonies. If we can unite our resources and troops, we stand a chance. We must convince everyone that now is the time for action." The leaders began to discuss strategies. They talked about gathering ships, weapons, and supplies. Some leaders were hesitant, afraid of another failure, but Captain Sarah's fiery spirit inspired them. "We must be brave. If we don't fight back, Earth will remain a graveyard, and our people will be lost forever." Slowly, the leaders began to see the importance of unity. They agreed to send messages to every colony, calling for a meeting to discuss a united front. Over the next few days, messages were sent out across the stars, reaching every human settlement. As the days passed, ships from different colonies began to arrive at Nova Prime. The gathering turned into a massive event. Humans from various backgrounds and cultures filled the hall, each carrying their hopes and dreams for the future. Families who had lost loved ones were there seeking justice. Veterans who had fought before stood tall, ready to protect their people once again. During the gathering, the leaders took turns speaking. They shared stories of their lost friends and family, their voices echoing with pain and determination. Captain Sarah's speech was the most powerful. "We are not just fighting for revenge. We are fighting for our future. We must stand together or we will fall apart." Cheers erupted in the hall, uniting everyone in a common cause. People from all colonies shouted their agreement. The atmosphere was electric, filled with hope and passion. They were ready to fight. After the meeting, the leaders began to organize the colonies into a fighting force. They created specialized teams, some focused on combat training, while others worked on improving technology and weapons. Dr. Elias led a group of scientists to study the Xyrath's technology, searching for any weaknesses. Meanwhile, Ambassador Maya reached out to other potential allies, seeking support from other races who might be against the Xyrath. Weeks turned into months as preparations continued. The united colonies trained hard, learning from each other and sharing knowledge. They built new ships, weapons, and defenses. The people who had once lived in fear began to feel a sense of purpose and determination. As the day of their first coordinated attack approached, the atmosphere was tense. Captain Sarah and her team reviewed the plan. They had gathered enough forces to make a strong strike against one of the Xyrath's supply bases. This attack would be crucial to weaken the enemy and send a message humanity was not finished yet. On the day of the attack, ships filled the skies, ready for battle. The united human fleet was a sight to behold, every ship representing the courage and resilience of their people. As they prepared for the journey into enemy territory, a wave of emotion swept through the fleet. They were no longer just survivors, they were warriors united for a cause. With hearts pounding and adrenaline rushing, they launched into space, ready to reclaim their future. Together they would face the Xyrath. Together they would fight for revenge and justice. The flames of war burned bright, and humanity was ready to rise once more. The day of the first attack had finally arrived. The united fleet of human colonies gathered in space, hovering near a massive Xyrath supply base. Captain Sarah stood on the bridge of her ship, the Eagle's Fury, staring at the screen displaying the enemy's stronghold. Her heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear. This mission was crucial for the survival of humanity. They needed to strike hard and fast. Around her, the crew prepared for battle. The ship buzzed with energy as everyone focused on their tasks. Dr. Elias monitored the data coming in from their scouts. "The base is heavily guarded," he reported, frowning, "but we've spotted a weak point in their defenses. If we can hit that, we might be able to penetrate the outer shield." Captain Sarah nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "We will hit them where it hurts. This is our chance to show the Xyrath that humanity is not done fighting." Her voice was firm, and the crew cheered in agreement. They all understood the stakes. This attack could change everything. As they approached the base, the crew took their positions. Captain Sarah initiated the attack sequence, and the ships of the United Fleet spread out in formation. The tension was thick in the air as they flew toward the enemy. Suddenly, the Xyrath base came into view. It was a massive structure, bristling with weapons and surrounded by smaller ships. The enemy had no idea what was coming. Captain Sarah gave the order to engage, and the Eagle's fury surged forward, weapons primed and ready. The first shots rang out as they fired upon the base. Bright beams of energy lit up the darkness of space, striking the enemy's shields. The crew cheered as the shields flickered, showing signs of weakness. They were making progress, but the Xyrath were quick to react. Smaller enemy ships swarmed toward them, opening fire with their own weapons. "Brace for impact!" Sarah shouted as her crew scrambled to respond. The Eagle's fury rocked under the force of enemy fire. Alarms blared, and the ship shook violently. "Return fire! Focus on those smaller ships!" Sarah commanded, gripping the controls tightly. The crew fought back bravely, firing their weapons and dodging incoming shots. Dr. Elias monitored the battle from his station. "We're getting through! Keep pushing!" he yelled, his eyes wide with excitement. The adrenaline surged through everyone as they felt the tide of battle shifting in their favor. Meanwhile, a squadron of fighters led by Lieutenant Jason launched from the Eagle's fury, zipping into the chaos. They maneuvered expertly through enemy fire, targeting the smaller Xyrath ships. The fighters unleashed their missiles, striking true and causing explosions that lit up the dark void of space. Jason felt the thrill of battle, his heart pounding as he fought for revenge. As the battle raged on, Captain Sarah watched the base closely. "We need to hit that weak point now!" she shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. The crew quickly recalibrated their targeting systems and prepared for one final strike. "Ready the torpedoes," Sarah ordered. "On my mark. 3, 2, 1, fire!" The torpedoes launched, racing toward the Xyrath base. Time seemed to slow as they flew through the void. With a deafening explosion, the torpedoes struck the weak point. The entire base shook violently, and lights flickered as the shields collapsed. The crew erupted in cheers, their victory within reach. But the Xyrath were not done yet. In a desperate move, the enemy unleashed a counterattack. A massive beam shot from the base, targeting the Eagle's fury. "Incoming!" Dr. Elias yelled, panic in his voice. "Evasive maneuvers," Sarah shouted, her heart racing. The ship swerved sharply, barely avoiding the deadly beam. But the attack had caused significant damage to their systems. Warning lights flashed, and the crew scrambled to keep the ship operational. As the battle continued, the Xyrath's defenses weakened. The United Fleet pressed forward, determined to finish the fight. One by one, enemy ships fell, and the remaining forces began to retreat. With the Xyrath base in ruins, the crew of the Eagle's Fury cheered in triumph. They had achieved their first victory, a testament to their strength and unity. But Captain Sarah knew this was only the beginning. The fight for humanity had just started. As the fleet regrouped, they reflected on their success. This battle would send a message across the galaxy. Humanity would not back down. They had united for a cause, and they would continue to fight for their lost home and for revenge against those who had taken everything from them. The victory at the Xyrath supply base filled the United Fleet with hope and determination. Captain Sarah stood on the bridge of the Eagle's Fury, her heart swelling with pride as she looked at her crew. They had struck a blow against their enemies, but she knew this was just the beginning. They needed to uncover more secrets about the Xyrath if they were to win the war. After the battle, the crew collected data from the remains of the supply base. Dr. Elias worked tirelessly in the ship's lab, analyzing the information they had gathered. He was determined to find out how the Xyrath had managed to invade Earth so quickly and efficiently. Days passed as they pored over the data. One evening, Dr. Elias called a meeting in the ship's conference room. The leaders from various colonies gathered, their faces filled with anticipation. "I think I have found something important," he announced, his voice steady yet excited. "What did you discover?" Captain Sarah asked, leaning forward in her seat. Dr. Elias opened a holographic display, revealing a complex network of Xyrath communications. "This is their communication system. It seems to be much more advanced than we initially thought. They use a coded language, but I believe I can decrypt it." The room buzzed with excitement. If they could intercept and understand Xyrath communications, it would give them a significant advantage. "Can you do it?" Ambassador Maya asked, her eyes wide with hope. "I'm working on it now," Dr. Elias replied. "But it will take time. We need to stay vigilant and keep gathering information." Captain Sarah nodded. "Let's prepare for our next move. We can't just wait around. We need to take the fight to them." As they continued their preparations, tensions grew in the fleet. The Xyrath would likely retaliate after losing the supply base, and the humans needed to be ready. They intensified their training and expanded their defenses. Meanwhile, Dr. Elias worked day and night, slowly decoding the Xyrath's communications. He would often call the crew together to share his findings. During one of these meetings, he revealed a shocking piece of information. The Xyrath have been planning more than just attacks on us. They have a much larger operation underway, one that involves other races in the galaxy. They're preparing to form alliances to strengthen their power. Captain Sarah's face darkened. Alliances? With whom? Dr. Elias continued, There's mention of a gathering of various alien races. They are discussing plans to expand their territory and crush any resistance. If we don't act fast, we might find ourselves outnumbered. The room fell silent, each leader absorbing the gravity of the situation. We need to disrupt their plans, Ambassador Maya said. We can't let them gain any more power. Agreed, Captain Sarah said. But we need more intel. Dr. Elias, can you pinpoint the location of this gathering? I'll try my best, he replied, determination shining in his eyes. The crew sprang into action. They began gathering more intelligence on the Xyrath's movements and alliances. Every ship in the fleet worked together, sharing information and resources. The atmosphere buzzed with a sense of purpose, each member knowing they had a vital role to play. Days turned into weeks as Dr. Elias continued his work. One night, just as the crew was settling down, a loud alarm blared across the ship. "Incoming transmission!" shouted one of the officers. Captain Sarah rushed to her console. "Put it on the screen!" she ordered. The screen flickered to life, displaying a Xyrath officer. He looked smug and confident. "Humans," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "You think you can challenge us after what you've done? You will pay for your attacks. Your resistance will be crushed." The crew listened in shock. The Xyrath knew about their plans. "We need to move quickly," Captain Sarah said, her voice firm. "They're on to us. Dr. Elias, do you have any updates?" "Yes," Dr. Elias replied, his hands flying over the controls. "I've pinpointed the location of their gathering. It's on a nearby moon. If we act now, we might be able to disrupt them before they form any alliances. Prepare the fleet," Captain Sarah commanded. "We're going to hit them hard and fast. This time we won't just fight for revenge, we will fight for our survival." As the crew rallied around her, a sense of excitement and fear washed over them. They had discovered secrets that could change the course of the war. With their hearts set on victory, they prepared for the next attack, knowing that the fate of humanity rested in their hands. The day of the final battle had arrived. The united fleet of human colonies gathered around the dark moon, where the Xyrath were holding their secret meeting. Captain Sarah stood on the bridge of the Eagle's Fury, staring at the screen filled with data about their enemies. She could feel the tension in the air as the crew prepared for what could be their greatest fight yet. "Today we finish what we started," Captain Sarah declared, her voice ringing with determination. "We've fought for our homes, our families, and our future. This time we will not hold back." The crew cheered, their spirits high. They knew this battle was crucial. If they could disrupt the Xyrath's plans for alliance, it would give humanity a fighting chance to reclaim their world. Dr. Elias looked over his shoulder, a mix of excitement and anxiety in his eyes. "We've analyzed their defenses. They are strong, but we know their weaknesses." "Good," Captain Sarah replied, nodding. "Let's use that knowledge to our advantage. Prepare for a stealth approach. We need to get close before they realize we're here." The fleet moved silently through space, each ship ready for battle. As they neared the moon, the Xyrath ships floated in formation, unaware of the incoming threat. Captain Sarah gave the order to advance, and the crew focused on their tasks, hearts racing in anticipation. Suddenly, alarms blared. "They've detected us!" an officer shouted. "All ships, prepare for battle!" Captain Sarah's heart raced, but she kept her voice steady. "We go in hard and fast! Engage!" The Eagle's Fury surged forward, weapons primed and ready. Bright beams of energy erupted from their ships, striking the Xyrath vessels. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as the humans unleashed their fury. The crew cheered as they scored hit after hit, but the Xyrath quickly retaliated. The enemy ships responded with fierce firepower, and the battle intensified. Captain Sarah maneuvered her ship with precision, dodging incoming shots while returning fire. "Focus on those Xyrath cruisers," she ordered. "We need to break their formation." In the chaos of battle, Lieutenant Jason led his squadron of fighters into the fray. They flew with incredible skill, weaving through enemy fire and targeting Xyrath ships with deadly accuracy. "Let's show them what humans can do," Jason shouted over the comms, his voice filled with adrenaline. As the two forces clashed, the situation grew increasingly dire. The Xyrath ships were strong, and their numbers seemed endless. Captain Sarah felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She had to protect her crew and secure a future for humanity. "Dr. Elias, can we disrupt their communication systems?" she shouted. "I'm on it," he replied, frantically typing commands into his console. "If I can create a feedback loop, it could give us an advantage." "Do it," she urged. "We need every edge we can get." Dr. Elias worked quickly, his fingers flying over the controls. Moments later, he grinned. "It's done!" The Xyrath are confused. "They can't coordinate their attacks! Now's our chance!" Captain Sarah yelled. "Push forward and hit them hard!" With the Xyrath in disarray, the humans pressed the attack. They moved as one, each ship working together to take down the enemy. The tide of battle shifted, and hope ignited in the hearts of the crew. Explosions rocked the battlefield as ships fell from both sides. The crew of the Eagle's Fury fought bravely, their resolve stronger than ever. Captain Sarah could see the Xyrath ships faltering, their formation breaking apart. "Keep pushing! We can win this!" she shouted, her heart racing. As the battle raged on, Captain Sarah spotted the Xyrath command ship looming in the distance. "That's our target!" she declared. "If we take it down, we can cripple their entire fleet." With renewed determination, the crew focused their fire on the command ship. The Eagle's Fury raced forward, weapons blazing. "Let's finish this!" Captain Sarah yelled, her voice fierce and clear. The crew unleashed everything they had. Beams of energy struck the command ship, and it began to shudder under the relentless assault. With one final shot, the ship exploded in a brilliant display of light, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The remaining Xyrath ships, now leaderless and disorganized, began to retreat. The crew of the Eagle's Fury cheered, their hearts filled with triumph. They had done it. They had fought back against their enemies and disrupted their plans. As the dust settled and the battle came to an end, Captain Sarah looked at her crew, pride swelling in her chest. "We did it," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "We fought for our future and for each other. Today we showed the galaxy that humanity will not be defeated." As they regrouped, the crew celebrated their victory. They had discovered secrets, united for war, and fought bravely against overwhelming odds. Together, they had reclaimed their strength, paving the way for a brighter future. With hope shining in their hearts, they prepared to return home, knowing they had taken the first step toward a new beginning. The fight for humanity was far from over, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, united and stronger than ever.